How can we have a better, more sustainable planet while taking into account the pleasure of the consumer? How to provide a new and diversified food supply rich in plant protein? These are the questions I try to answer during my PhD. My name is Cosson and I am working with the French Public Research Institute INRAE and the company Roquette Frères. In the study, I am focusing on plant-based foods that incorporate pea protein isolates. They are often described as having persistent benny, bitter, and astringent notes that can decrease the desirability of the resulting foods. This study aimed to understand better how product composition affects the sensory perception of pea protein-based beverage using temporal methods and methods which allow consumers to evaluate whole food portions. 12 pea protein-based beverages were created in the lab. 2 mixture designs were used to produce a wide range of plant beverage from different ingredients while being realistic in terms of ingredient concentrations. The first mixture design was formulated with pea protein isolates and had 3 variables with 2 levels: sunflower oil, gellan gum, and salt. The second mixture design was formulated with another type of pea protein isolates. Rheological tests were performed on each beverage to verify repeatability. The microbial safety of the products was also tested. 16 panelists were recruited and trained. They had to analyze the beverage using 3 sensory methods. A static block method where sensory attributes were evaluated immediately after consumption. A mono-intake TDS method where sensory attributes were evaluated over a 2-minute period following consumption. And a multi-intake TDS method where panelists had to evaluate attribute dominance at 3 time points: once after consuming the first spoonful of beverage, once after consuming half of the beverage, and once after consuming all of the beverage. The main result is that the composition of pea protein-based beverage greatly impacts perceptions. Firstly, protein type influenced the perception. Isolate pea-based products were perceived as being fattier, bitterer, more astringent, and less aromatic. Although both pea protein isolates contain similar levels of total proteins, isolate pea are richer in absolute proteins, while isolate I are richer in minerals, sugars, polyphenol, volatile molecules, and peptide. In addition, beverage had higher gellan gum content. The perceived intensity of astringency was lower, but the attribute bitter was highly dominant. Products with greater gellan gum content were perceived as having lower overall aromatic intensity and less pronounced almond and brown notes. Beverages containing oil were perceived as having higher overall aromatic intensity and more intense almond and nut notes. Texture attributes initially dominate food perception. Benny aroma dominate food perception at the beginning and the middle of the evaluation part. Finally, bitterness and astringency was dominant during the last part of the evaluation period. Before the swallowing, aroma compounds have limited access to the nasal cavity, which may explain why only texture and salinity attributes were dominant during the initial part of the evaluation period. The highest aroma release signal is observed during the first expiration after swallowing. After a few seconds, the concentration of volatile compounds in the mouth and nasal cavity decreased significantly. In contrast, non-volatile compounds remain on oral surfaces and continue to influence perceptions, which may explain why astringency was dominant later in the evaluation period. Multi-intake TDS profiling showed that benniness and bitterness greatly decrease over time. These attributes might become less noticeable after repeated tasting due to sensory adaptation. There was also a gradual increase in perceived fattiness across time, which could be due to the lingering and build-up of sensations. In conclusion, this study helped clarify how the composition of pea protein-based beverage affected sensory perceptions. They provide clues for reformulating pea protein-based products to reduce benniness, bitterness, and astringency. It shows also the importance of employing a combination of sensory profiling methods to formulate food products with high desirability. Thank you very much for listening to me, and if you have any questions, don't hesitate to come and ask me during the poster session.